Welcome back to Berserkersden. Today on Berserker Brews I'm going to attempt to make a chocolate style mead using Rowse Chocobee. Rowse Chocobee is a chocolate spread mainly that is, as it says, made with just honey and cocoa. But before we start, I want to give it a bit of a taste. Okay, so let's give it a go. Okay, so you can smell the cocoa in it instantly. And it's quite thick. I thought it would have had a bit more of a syrupy sort of texture to it, but it is quite thick. Can't really taste the honey in it. No, I can't really taste that much honey in it. I was expecting it might have been a sort of 50-50. I don't know what I was expecting, but it's definitely got the chocolate in there. So the plan is, with this, is I'm going to use 5 340 gram jars, and sticking with Rowse, because I was thinking that might not have a lot of honey in it, I'm going to have 2 340 gram just normal blossom honey. Usually on Berserker Brews we like to make big batches, but as this is a bit of an experiment and I'm not really sure if it'll even work, I'm only going to do a UK gallon sized batch. With most chocolate meads, what you'll do is you make your base mead and then in secondary fermentation you add the cocoa then. But being as this is technically a cocoa infused honey, I thought we'll just do it all in one go. So in this segment, what you are watching me do is just add those jars of Chocobee to 1 litre of water, bringing it to a low boil just so that we can blend in the Chocobee with the water, and then I'll be adding the jars of honey alongside it. Just add a low boil and then turning off the heat to let it cool. Our base has been made. While that is cooling down, and my bottled water that I'll be using is in the fridge, we are going to rehydrate our yeast and make a yeast starter. The yeast I am using today is Alvin D47. The tolerance to this is 14%, but can reach up to about 15%. It was also recommended to me to use A10 darkness, which is more of a dark ale stout sort of yeast, and the tolerance to that is 12%. So I might try that yeast in a different video, but for now I'm going to use what I have, which is Alvin D47. To rehydrate the yeast, all you are going to do, especially with Alvins, rip the top off, for this particular batch I'm thinking I might use about half a pack, and I'm just going to eyeball it. So you pour your yeast into 100 ml of warm water. That's about half of it. Once you're done with your yeast, you can fold it up and use it again, as long as you're storing it in a concealed container and in a cool environment. You just want to stir your yeast just to get the water in through it. All you're doing is waking it up basically. There we go, it's a nice milky colour. Along with our yeast, I'm going to add 2.5 grams of Go Firm. Go Firm is just a rehydration nutrient. This just helps the yeast in this rehydrate basically. It gives them a good start, bit of food, helps them grow. So with your 2.5 grams, you're just gonna chuck it in like that, as we do in every video. Put that aside, give it a stir around. Break up all the little bits and just stir it until it's dissolved. You'll then want to just set this aside so that the colony can grow before you add it to your must, just so you've got that really powerful fermentation. This will only take 15 minutes to about half an hour. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our chocolatey, honey, watery combination here into our fermentation vessel. I'm going to be using a jug and a funnel for this. I'm just going to scoop it and just pour it in. As you can see, 1 litre that we used earlier, along with the Chocobee and the 2 jars of honey, has increased our volume by so much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a bong in it and shake it about while it's half full, just to get that oxygen in there. Even though it's quite difficult to see in this one, you're looking for a bit of a foamy head and you'll see some oxygen bubbles floating around, just tiny little oxygen bubbles. You want to keep on shaking this, because if you think you're done, you're not done. Now that we have a foamy head going on, I'm going to add the rest of our cool water to our fermenter. All I'm going to do, try not to spill it anywhere, grab our funnel again. Using a funnel helps create that oxygen. And I'm just going to now this is the dangerous bit. This bit shows you how greedy I am. How much do I want to make? I think that would be enough. It might be quite hard to see because it is a dark batch, but you can see that there's a darker section and a lighter section. That's where the separation has been from all the sugars with the water that we've just added. So to fix this, put your bung back in and you shake it about again. Now that our sample has cooled down, I'm going to take a hydrometer reading. This will give us our original gravity so that we can work out the alcohol percentage later on. I've left a bit of a gap as I'm expecting the sugar content of the honey mixed with the cocoa would be quite high. And you just drop it in your sample. So you want to keep this sample. Just pour it back in. We come back to our yeast starter. Just want to give that a bit of a swirl around. By the way, it's good practice just to check back out on this and give it a stir around every few minutes. Just pour it in. Just want to swirl this around then, just to get the yeast all mixed in. Once you're happy that's all been swirled around, you get your airlock in a bung and you just pop your bung on. The airlock helps let the gases that the yeast will produce out, but it won't let anything come back in, down to there being sanitized water in there. If you'd like a deeper look into airlocks, comment down below and I'll see if I can make a video on that for you. It's been just over 5 weeks since we started the Chocobee Mead. It's still going a little bit, but I've been monitoring it for about the past week and it's coming close to the final gravity that I want to set at. Ideally I want to settle at about 1.020, just so it'll leave enough sweetness in there and not go completely dry. So the first thing that we're going to do now is we're going to find out what our final gravity reading will be. So in order to do this, I need my drop tube and hydrometer. I also need my turkey baster. I have also seen people getting large syringes with like a silicone tubing on it. If you have something like that, you can use that as well. So with this, what I have been doing is I have been regularly stirring it so all the bit at the bottom can mix in with it. Racking it today, I think I'm probably going to leave the majority of that behind. Okay, so it hasn't reached the target gravity that I wanted it to go to, but the activity in the airlock had slowed down, so it was coming towards the end. So what we'll do now is we'll just work out what percentage of alcohol is in this. Okay, so this mead has now reached an ABV of 14.96%. So roughly about 15% alcohol, which I'm quite happy with. I was aiming to get it dead on 15%, but I'll take that. Because there's still activity going on in here and I don't really want it to ferment anymore, when racking this now, we're going to use two components, which will be fermentation stopper or stabilizer. This will just kill the yeast and stop the fermenting process, and Camden tablets, which helps preserve and sterilize it. So to do this, I'm just going to take 1 heaped teaspoon of stabilizer. I'm just going to drop that then into our secondary vessel. And then for this size batch, all we'll need is 1 Camden tablet, which you will crush. There are other ways of stopping fermentation, such as pasteurizing, but I'll cover that in another video. Personally, I like to add these before I rack, so that I'm racking on top of it, reducing the need to mix it in later on, which will help reduce oxygen interfering with our brew. Moving on to the racking, as we all know, soft side in, then the hard piece, and then a couple of cheeky pumps, just like that. I can still smell the cocoa in it. I'll give it a little bit of a taste later on, but I'm pretty sure from what I can smell there will still be a strong taste of chocolate in there. Just while that's racking, I just want to mention, along with our current socials, I also now have a Twitch account, which I will be posting behind the scenes, preparation videos, all types of things on that. So go ahead, give us a follow on that. And also, in the upcoming weeks, weather permitting, I have something big that I'm planning, and I'll show a lot of it on Twitch, so you don't want to miss that. Okay, so that's all gone in there now. I've just given it a bit of a swirl just to pick up all the bits that we put in there. Now I'm just going to drop what we took from it earlier in. Just want to leave it a little bit so I can have a taste. Obviously it is still quite young. It's only 5 weeks old and we're only doing our secondary racking now. But yeah, you can definitely smell the chocolate in it and the honey. You definitely taste the alcohol in it, that's quite strong. Does leave an aftertaste of the chocolate. Even though this had the potential to go higher, I don't think you want it to go much higher, because then you'd spoil the flavour. I probably would have been quite happy stopping this at the beginning of the week and leaving it around about 12 to 13% and keeping more of the flavour in there, but it's not too bad. There is a fair bit of headspace there, but I'm not planning on letting this age in here for too long. I'm just using this as a vessel just to stop the fermentation. Once I'm happy that the fermentation's going to stop, I will bottle it, as I think this would be something you do want to try earlier on. Naughty girl. So I'm just going to put an airlock back on it, just to stop any nasties getting in there. Just like that. I'd just like to thank everybody again who's come along to support the channel and watch this. I fully enjoyed doing this one. I really wanted to do this for quite some time, ever since that I've seen Rowse advertising the Chocobee. Make sure you check out my socials to keep updated on this one. Make sure you check out that Twitch. I promise you guys it's not something you're going to want to miss out on. So until next time, cheers.